Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Mapper Forward, friends, and thanks to our presenting sponsor, the Coffee Consultants Mastermind Group. In July, we will be starting the next group for the Coffee Consultants Mastermind Group. So if this is something that you are thinking about pivoting to in your career, consider the Coffee Consultants Mastermind Group today. Head to the show notes and click on the link. Also, while you're here, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, whether you're watching it here on YouTube or you are listening to it here on your podcast listening apps. We appreciate you and we thank you for your support. Today on the podcast, we are talking about automation in the coffee industry, and is now the time for you to automate in your coffee small business. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast recently, you will already know to the answer to this and my opinion about this. I am of the deep opinion that we need to start thinking about, thanks to the constraints on our industry from a labor market perspective, we do need to start considering accelerating our trajectory in favor of automation. And I think that if this isn't something that is on your radar, I think it's something that should be on your radar. And if this is something that has been on your radar, it should be something that you are looking to activate sooner rather than later. Why am I saying this? Well, because I think that the challenges around our labor force are not going to get fixed anytime soon. I wonder if this is a permanent cultural shift in our industry and people are looking to work for different companies that respect and that celebrate the changing cultural needs of different generations. And so, having said that, yes, now is the time for you to start thinking and taking action on automation. How will you do that? In my business, Elixir Specialty Coffee, even though we, as discussed recently in an episode of the podcast, we have, because of the issue with the commodities market and with the issues with shipping globally that I think are just going to get worse for at least the next 12 months, we will be delaying launching Elixir here in Australia. But in the meantime, we will be looking at ways that we can automate the production process more than we had automated that process in America when we were based in America. Not only that, we will look at automating the sales process as much as we possibly can. Now, what does that look like? Well, using algorithms, using different platforms, whether it be through social media marketing, whether it be through a different Salesforce software online, whatever it is, we will look to use AI to help us establish a direct-to-consumer market that helps us find our customers in a less labor-intensive way than employing a sales force. So what that means is that if we can find the right fit for us in an employee that can help us teach the algorithm who our customers are, and we can set the parameters for that. And we teach this in the mastermind groups. What we'll do from that is, as long as the algorithms learn correctly, the amount of money that we would have invested in a sales force, it becomes a pretty easy decision as a business owner to invest in the AI rather than invest in staff that, in our experience, have found it difficult to get excited about selling a challenging product to the industry. So the majority of the success that we have had through sales has been direct to consumer and has come from AI intelligence by the way of advertising algorithms. We tell those algorithms, this is the kind of person who we think would like Elixir. Please show them our ads. Now, that's a form of automation. And what we've found is that our sales staff would easily become deflated if they came up against what was our greatest barrier to entry, which was baristas in cafes who they would go and visit cafes. Our sales staff would go visit cafes. And because of some stuff that we've talked about before on this podcast, there were factors that got involved that turned that barrier to entry against our brand. And so what we decided was it took us 3 years to try and penetrate that very challenging barrier to entry, and it became too hard. So we decided that the best strategy moving forward would be to try AI. And you know what? It worked really well. It worked really, really well. It was unfortunate for us that we had invested all of this money in people and sales and it didn't work out, because I love employing people. But it just made more sense for the long-term viability of our business, if we wanted to stay open, that we keep moving along this trajectory. Now, something to note, feeding these algorithms financially is very expensive to start with. It takes a lot of testing. It takes a lot of trying different things, trying to find your market, etc., etc. It's very expensive. But it's like what happens in the pharmaceutical, that old thing that they say in the pharmaceutical industry. It costs $1 billion to create the first pill, and then 30 cents to make everyone after that, or 3 cents to make everyone after that. And so the more effort you put into automated sales through AI, and you stick with it, the better the results are that you'll have from it. But it's just really important for you to understand the journey that you're going on when that happens. So that's one form of automation that I think that all businesses should be considering right now. And it's definitely something that's going to be a natural way that business is done en masse in the future. But as that happens, Google AdWords and Facebook advertising and other social media platform advertising is going to get much more expensive. Equipment automation, which we touched on very briefly in this episode so far. Equipment automation is absolutely going to become something that can help you keep your business alive, provided that you can secure the capital to make that happen. Now, that's going to be something for my business as well that we're going to have to consider. We're going to need to raise more capital once we do get the business happening, based on when the economy settles a little bit. But we're going to have to consider how we automate that process moving forward. Because if you're starting a business really, really small in the early days of Elixir, we could manually do a lot of stuff. But we're not looking at a tiny, tiny business anymore. We're looking at a business that once we activate our sales force through AI, we will get things moving very quickly. So how do we plan for that using automation from the beginning? And how do we adequately size a budget, a capital requirement that allows us to plan for the first 5 years of our business? So in going into business now, or in growing your business, automation is something that you are unfortunately forced into because of labor shortages. And you're going to have to adapt. It's just the way that it is. If you are looking for suppliers, if you are looking for who the right fit is for you, I would encourage you to discuss your needs with a number of manufacturers before you settle on one. So if you're looking to automate your espresso machine so that you can have more like somebody who is doing the things like choosing the coffee and dialing in the machines, but the machine does all the brewing and pouring, speak to a number of manufacturers. I know who I would choose because I've had conversations with a number of manufacturers, but your needs may be very different to what my needs would be if I was to open a cafe. So go through the process of speaking to a number of manufacturers and see what value they can add to your business beyond just providing the equipment. What service, if the machines break down, do they have available? What is their repair strategy? How do you get parts? How do you get things fixed? What happens if you need to upgrade your machine? All of those things. How do you choose the right coffees for espresso machines that are automated? And yes, there is that to consider. But do your due diligence on this, and it will pay you back manyfold if you do that due diligence. I hope this has given you some food for thought. Don't forget to subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.